السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته يا شيخ.
أبو عبد الرحمن، كيف الحال؟
الحمد لله يا شيخ.
How are we doing with this class?
نعم يا شيخ.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. أما بعد, this is a class about the seerah of our mother Āishah radiyallahu anha. This class is to read about the life of al-Mu'mineen Siddiqatul Mubarakah Āishah radiyallahu anha, the wife of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. And this book is, or this biography, this life of hers, the Seerah of Āishah, was picked from the book Siyar A'alām An-Nubala by Imām Adh-Dhahabi Shamsuddin rahimahullah of the 7th century of Islam. Imām Adh-Dhahabi was well known from amongst the scholars of Quran, from amongst the scholars of Islamic history, At-Tarikh, and from amongst the scholars of Hadith, and also from amongst the scholars of Fiqh, and also from amongst the scholars who propagated the Aqidah of the people of the Sunnah. He has some major works on the matters of the Aqidah of the people of the Sunnah and Al-Jama'ah, Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. One of his works on At-Tarikh was Seerah, is this book, Siyar A'alām An-Nubala. He has a second book, Tarikhul Islam. Tarikhul Islam occurs in about 25 or 26 volumes, published after the checking of Dr. Bashar Awad Ma'ruf. Tarikhul Islam by Imām Adh-Dhahabi occurs in 25 volumes. As for Siyar A'alām An-Nubala, it has come with various publications. There's a publication by Darul Hadith by Shaykh Muhammad ibn Ayman al-Shabrawi that occurs in 18 volumes. There are other publications, but this print we read here in this class is the publication by Mu'assasatul Risala. It has the checking and editing of Sheikh Shu'aib al-Arnaout, and then it has the forward by Sheikh Dr. Bashar Awad Ma'ruf. We have read over 40 pages, bi'idhnillah, from this book, and we got to the stage where Imām Adh-Dhahabi rahimahullah began to mention things that show how compassionate and loving the Prophet was sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam to his wife Āishah. We are on the things that show the Prophet's love and compassion sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam for his wife Āishah radiyallahu anha Mu'mineen. The first of these issues that we have talked about was how patiently the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam waited for Āishah to search for her qilada that had gotten missing. She had borrowed a necklace from her sister Asma while they were going for a journey. During their return to Al-Madinah, the necklace that she had borrowed from her sister Asma got missing. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam got the entire group of traveling Muslims to wait for her so that Āishah radiallahu anha bint Siddiq can have Qilada searched for. The Prophet did not only stop the people alayhi salatu wasalam. He sent a search party to search for her necklace. This goes to make us understand how compassionate the Prophet was with Āishah. I still spoke about this incident yesterday in a discussion with a woman. If this was in our old time, many of the men will say, don't delay us because of a mere necklace. We have to go. So the Prophet did not only stop the caravan, alayhi salatu wasalam. The Prophet sent a search party to search for the necklace of his wife, radiallahu anha. He did not only do that, he was patient. Even when the people complained, the Prophet did not say anything. And then Allah made the search for that necklace a means of goodness for the Ummah, because they had stopped at a place where they could not find water, and they did not have water in their water vessels. That place did not have any water body, no river, no fountain, no lake, no well. Yet the Prophet waited there so that they could search for the necklace of Āishah radiallahu anha. This makes us understand that as men, we need to be patient to satisfy the needs, the desires of our wives, even in matters that we may not be interested in. Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, wearing a necklace is not from the things that men do. Yet he chose to wait for his wife, radiallahu anha. And Allah made it a means of goodness. Even her father, who was displeased with the waiting because the people complained, and it involved that the Prophet was also waiting, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq later came back to congratulate Āishah, his daughter. He said, Ma alimtu innaki la mubarakatun. I did not know. Ma alimtu. I didn't know, oh young girl, that you are a blessed girl. So that came from the Prophet's patience with her, and it's a show of love and compassion by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The second incident we read in the last class that showed the Prophet's love and compassion for Āishah radiallahu anha was that once Abu Bakr as-Siddiq came into the house and he heard that her voice was above the voice of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Today, many men will physically abuse their wives if it ever happens that her voice goes beyond the voice of her husband. Today, many men will physically abuse their wives if it ever happens that the voice of the wife goes above the voice of the husband. Many of the husbands today will physically abuse their wives. Our mother Āishah, this thing just happened like that. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq heard that her voice was a word above the voice of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. He was very angry with his daughter. He said, Tarfa'ina sawtaki ala Rasulillah. Tarfa'ina sawtaki ala Rasulillah. Āishah, are you raising your voice beyond that of the voice of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam? He moved towards her, and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam came in between Āishah and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. That was a show of love by the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to Āishah. And when Abu Bakr as-Siddiq left, Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam ja'ala yataraddaha. The Prophet went on yataraddaha. He began to seek for her to be glad, trying to make her happy. This is not the way many of us will behave these days. If it ever happens that our wives raise voices against and above our own voices, many men will abuse their husbands. They will abuse their wives physically. May Allah protect us from this evil. The Prophet did not abuse her, alayhi salatu wassalam. He did not insult her. In fact, when her father was angry with her over that, the Prophet prevented her. This is showing a lot of, prevented him. This is showing a lot of compassion from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to Āishah. And once the Prophet said to her, كيف رأيتني أنقذتك من الرجل? How did you find my helping you, protecting you from Abu Bakr as-Siddiq? This is the second narration. The third narration was the narration from Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, who sent Abu Qais Mawla Amr to ask our mother Salama about a statement that Āishah radiallahu anha was saying to the people. Āishah radiallahu anha was saying to the people that كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم يقبل وهو صائم ويباشر وهو صائم. كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم يقبل وهو صائم ويباشر وهو صائم. Āishah radiallahu anha was telling the people in the town that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam yuqabbilu wa huwa sa'im. He would give a kiss to his wife. The Prophet would kiss his wife while fasting. Wa yubashiru. Not just that. He will draw them to himself and fondle them wa huwa sa'im while he was fasting. So the people were wondering, was that with Āishah alone, or it was with respect to other wives? So they sent someone to ask Salama radiyallahu anha whether what the Prophet did with Āishah, whether he was doing it with them too. And when Salama would respond, she said radiyallahu anha, لعله أنه لم يكن يتمالك عنها حبا. لعله أنه لم يكن يتمالك عنها حبا. Perhaps the reason the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did that to Āishah was لم يكن يتمالك عنها حبا. The Prophet was not able, he wasn't always able to keep away from her out of love for her, out of love for Āishah, out of compassion for Āishah. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would kiss her even when they were fasting, and even when he was fasting, he would also fondle her sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Another show of love and compassion for Āishah was in the hadith of Asma bint Yazid. Imām Adh-Dhahabi reported it from the hadith of Asma bint Umays. But we said that Asma bint Umays was mentioned by Abu Shaddad, who was a weak reporter of hadith. Those who authentically reported that hadith reported it from the hadith of Asma bint Yazid. The same story. And what happened in that story was, on the very first night Āishah was brought to the house of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he provided her a bowl of milk. He drank from the milk, and then he gave to his wife Āishah to also drink from the milk, so that a man will take from a meal like a bowl of milk and hand over to his wife is from the show of love, and this is from the show of compassion. Some women will say, after you have finished drinking it, that is when you are giving me. It's giving her out of love for her and out of compassion. From the things that couples can share is food. From the things that they can do together is food. The husband can take a piece of meat and then hand over to the wife. We'll come back to a narration like this about Āishah and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This will take us to page 173 from the book that we study. What we have mentioned now will take us to page 173 from this book, Siyar A'alām An-Nubala by Imām Adh-Dhahabi. Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, rahimahullah, Zakaria ibn Zaida. I hope that we can follow that page 173 from the print of Mu'assasatu Risala of Siyar A'alām An-Nubala. That will be in the third volume 3 of the print from Darul Hadith. If it is the print of Mu'assasatu Risala that is displayed on the screen, it occurs in volume 2, page 173. On the screen we have volume 2, page 173. Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, Zakaria ibn Abi Zaida. He was reporting this hadith from the books of hadith. Imām Adh-Dhahabi was bringing it from Musnad of Al-Imam Musnad of Ali. So he says, Zakaria ibn Abi Zaida. That is Abu Yahya. Zakaria ibn Abi Zaida, Abu Yahya al-Hamdani, was reporting from Khalid ibn Salama and al-Bahi. Al-Bahi is Abdullah Abu Muhammad al-Bahi. Abdullah Mawla Mus'ab ibn Zubayr. Mus'ab ibn Zubayr is the younger brother of Abdullah ibn Zubayr. So al-Bahi was his freed slave, and he was from amongst the Tabi'un. It is al-Bahi who is reporting from Urwa ibn Zubayr, who said that قالت عائشة رضي الله عنها, that Āishah رضي الله عنها said, ما علمت حتى دخلت علي زينب بغير إذن وهي غضبة. قالت عائشة ما علمت حتى دخلت علي زينب بغير إذن وهي غضبة. I did not know, I wasn't conscious until دخلت علي زينب. Zainab bint Jahsh came to my room بغير إذن. She didn't even ask for permission to come. She just came in. وهي غضبة. And she was so annoyed when she came. This is from that hadith we had read in the past, that the women inside the house of the Prophet gathered and spoke amongst themselves that they should go and talk to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be fair regarding Āishah. What was the fairness they were asking for? They were asking for fairness because the companions used to give gifts to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the days of Āishah. So they considered that inappropriate. It was not the Prophet who called for the gift. It was the companions who would bring the gifts. So it was not a form of injustice and unfairness from the Prophet. Why? He was not the one bringing the gifts. But companions will note the day that the Prophet ﷺ would be in the apartment of Āishah. So the women felt uncomfortable. Why is it that it is on the days of Āishah that they will bring gifts to the Prophet ﷺ? Shouldn't they bring those gifts on our own days? So they gathered. The first person they sent, we have read this hadith in this book, was why I didn't go back to the Arabic text. I just want to give us a background to what is reported on this page. So the first person who came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam while the Prophet was in the apartment of Āishah was Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet said to her alayhi salam, Allah tuhibbina ma uhibbu. Should you not love what I love? So Fatima left. Then they sent another person, Salama, radiyallahu anha. Then they sent Zainab bint Jahsh. So this is where this story was collected from. Āishah said, when Zainab was sent, Ma alimtu hatta dakhalat alayya Zainabu. I did not know, I wasn't conscious until Zainab came in the very evening. She didn't even ask for permission to come into my room. وَهِيَ غَضْبَةٌ. And Zainab bint Jahsh was so annoyed. ثُمَّ قَالَتْ لِرَسُولِ اللَّهِ. Zainab bint Jahsh now said to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in this print, it says, أحسبك إذا قلبت لك بنية أبي بكر ذريعتيها. This is as it occurs in the Musnad of Imām Ahmad. أحسبك. What I think of you. I think you, O Messenger of Allah, you are satisfied when Āishah begins to turn her hands towards you. Zuray'atayha. Zuray'a is a tazkir of Seerah. That is her upper arm, her lower arm. I'm sure we remember Seerah. So the tazkir of that is Zuray'a. So it says Zuray'a atayha. Are you pleased, O Messenger? Just that Āishah is turning, the way women move their hands before their husbands. Although today it has become a thing of show of pleasure amongst women. When they take pictures, they move their hands. So this was what Zainab was saying. Is it just okay for you that Āishah is the one you look at and you don't pay attention to the rest of us? We are here telling you that we want the men to be bringing gifts to our room on our own days. But you are not talking about it. You are just comfortable with the way Āishah is moving her small hands. So Zainab in that narration was mentioning that Āishah was younger, of course. She was moving her hands before you. That's what you are pleased with. So she said that أحسبك إذا قلبت لك بنية أبي بكر ذريعتيها. It suffices you. أحسبك. That's how it occurs in the report of Al-Imam Ibn Majah. أحسبك. That is what I think of you is that you are comfortable. What? But differently, lines. You are just. So the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Zainab said to him that أحسبك إذا قلبت لك بنية أبي بكر ذريعتيها. Does it suffice you? What I think of you is that you feel sufficient. Once Āishah is with you, talking to you, moving her hands, you are comfortable. And you don't look at any other matter again. Summa akbalat alayya. It was Āishah reporting this narration. So after Zainab said that, Āishah said, then she came to me. She told the Prophet, oh, is it sufficient for you that Āishah is just moving her hands? Once Āishah is with you, you don't care about any other thing. Then she came to her. Radiyallahu anhuma. فَأَعْرَضْتُ عَنْهَا. Aisha said, when she came to me, أعرضت عنها, I avoided her. حتى قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, I avoided Zainab. Zainab came to speak to Aisha. She was angry. She spoke to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. How you surprises you that Aisha is with you, Abi. Aisha is moving her hands. Then she came to Aisha. Aisha said, when she came to her, أعرضت عنها, I avoided Zainab. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. But like I said, this asar occurs also in the Musnad of Imām Ahmad, where it says, فأعرضت عنها حتى قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. So I didn't say anything to Zainab. I didn't answer her. Zainab was talking to me, but I did not answer her. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Thereupon the Prophet said, صلى الله عليه وسلم, دون كيف تصل عائشة, defend yourself. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, and scholars say that, why did the Prophet say that? It is permissible for a woman, when her co-wife speaks to her, then she can respond. Of course, you will respond with truth. You can say, hey, no, don't talk to me like that. It is lawful. The Prophet told Aisha, respond. Dunaki fantasiri. Yani intasiri dunaki. Seek help. Respond for yourself. Seek help for yourself. Seek self-help. Protect yourself. So Aisha radiallahu anha had to respond to Zainab. She said radiallahu anha, فَأَقْبَلْتُ عَلَيْهَا, so I turned towards Zainab. حَتَّى رَأَيْتُهَا قَدْ يَبِسَ رِيقُهَا عَلَيْهَا حَتَّى رَأَيْتُهَا. I began to reply to Zainab. That but here is a river became dry in her mouth. What is that? Aisha was talking, also responding to Zainab, until she saw that Zainab was silent. She did not have any more things to say. Scholars say that this is evidence that a woman may be spoken to harshly by her co-wife. Then she can reply to that harsh speech. Like Zainab spoke harshly to Aisha, and Aisha radiallahu anha replied. That the scholars say it shows that it is permissible. The Prophet told Aisha radiallahu anha wa alayhi salatu wasalam to reply, to make the rest of us understand that if a woman replies, it is permissible. But still, they say to us, it's من طرف إن ذلك من عزم الأمور. He says, وَلَمَنْ انتصر بعد ظلمه, one was treated unfairly, who responds? There is no blame on that person. So the Prophet told Aisha to respond. But as for overlooking, the best was that one should overlook. They say, وَالْعَفْوُ أَحْسَنُ. The best was that Aisha should have overlooked. If she overlooked, that's better. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanted the entirety of the ummah to understand this. If a woman becomes harsh towards her co-wife verbally, it is not wrong if the other wife replies her. But if the other wife does not reply her, that is a better thing to do. So Aisha said, فَأَقْبَلْتُ عَلَيْهَا حَتَّى رَأَيْتُهَا قَدْ يَبِسَ رِيقُهَا فِي فَمِهَا. I began to reply against Zainab until I noticed that قَدْ يَبِسَ رِيقُهَا, her saliva had become dry. in her mouth. He said, radiyallahu anha, فَمَا تَرُدُّ عَلَيَّ شَيْئًا. She became unable to reply to me. She couldn't say anything again. I talked to her until she couldn't speak again. Āishah said, radiyallahu anha, وَرَأَيْتُ النَّبِيَّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ يَتَهَلَّلُ وَجْهُهُ. So I saw the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. His countenance became bright and smiley. The scholars say, why was the Prophet bright? Why was his countenance okay? Perhaps Aisha's response will make it that women will not be doing that again. When Aisha responded, it will be clear that don't do it again, because you know that the person you are doing it to is likely to reply. And that because Zainab stopped, the entire matter stopped. When Zainab stopped, the entire matter stopped. So that gladdened the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. So this is another evidence of the Prophet's love for who? For Aisha. He did not want her to suffer. Someone came just abusing her, talking to her, and then she remains silent. When it is permissible for her to respond, even though not responding is better. The Prophet also wanted to teach the rest of us that it's permissible to respond. And when Aisha responded and silenced Zainab, Zainab kept quiet. The Prophet was happy. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So these are some incidences that showed the Prophet's love and compassion for it. Son of al-Hafiz ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, rahimahullah, Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, he grades it Hassan. Likewise, al-Imam al-Busayri, likewise, the Shaykh al-Albani, likewise, the Shaykh Shuaib al-Arnaut. We are saying that this hadith is sahih. That's what one day Zainab came into the room of the Prophet, spoke to the Prophet, and then spoke harshly to Aisha. And Aisha radiyallahu anha was asked by the Prophet, Dunaki fantasiri, reply, help yourself, defend yourself. And Aisha stood up and was replying the comments from Zainab bint Jahsh until Zainab became unable to speak again. Then they both kept silent, and the Prophet kept his smiley face. That's over. The matter has ended. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. From the matters that Imām Adh-Dhahabi mentioned in this book, Siyar A'alām An-Nubala, we are now in page 174. Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, Ahmad ibn Ubaydillah النرسي حدثنا يحيى الخواس حدثنا محاضر عن هشام ابن عروة عن أبيه عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت أتاني رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم في غير يومي يطلب مني ضجعا فدق فسمعت الدق ثم خرجت ففتحت له فقال ما كنت تسمعين الدق ما كنت تسمعين الدق قلت بلى ولكنني أحببت أن يعلم النساء أنك أتيتني في غير يوم رضي الله عنها. Ahmad ibn Ubaydillah An-Narsi reported this author. Ahmad ibn Ubaydillah An-Narsi reported this author. He said, حدثنا يحيى al-Khawwas. Let me quickly say this to this Imam Ahmad said about him that someone we can call idolat. He would not report his narrations accurately, and he's reporting from Muhadir. That is Muhadir ibn al-Muwarri'. Muhadir ibn al-Muwarri' is da'if. So we have two reporters in this isnad that are da'if. So you should know that this narration is da'if. The first Da'if here is Yahya al-Khawas. The second person is his teacher, from whom Yahya reported the hadith. Muhadir ibn al-Muwarri' is also a weak reporter, and he is a student of Hisham ibn Urwa in this isnad, who was said to be reporting from his father, Urwa ibn Zubayr, from Āishah. So this narration is weak, but we will narrate it and we'll proceed. It said that Atani Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam fi ghayri yawmi yatlubu minni dhaj'a. It said that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam came to me fi ghayri yawmi, on a day different from my day, meaning that it was on a day the Prophet was not supposed to stay past the night in her room. So she said, Atani Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam fi ghayri yawmi yatlubu minni dhaj'a. The Prophet was requesting to stay on my bed, to lie down on my bed on that day. Fadaqqa. The Prophet came, he knocked. Fasami'tu daqqa. I heard the knocking. Thumma kharajtu. Then I went out. Fafatahtu lahu. And I opened the door for him. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Then the Prophet asked her, ما كنت تسمعين الدقة? Were you not hearing the knocking? The Prophet was knocking. She took time before she came. But when she came, the Prophet said, ما كنت عليه الصلاة والسلام ما كنت تسمعين الدقة? Were you not hearing the knocking? قلت. Āishah said, رضي الله عنها, بلى, I was hearing the knocking, O Messenger of Allah. ولكنني أحببت أن يعلم النساء أنك أتيتني في غير يوم. I wanted the rest of the women to know that you are coming to me on a day that is not my own. This is the meaning of this hadith. We say that this hadith is weak. It has two reporters that are weak in the chains of report. But there is a matter that deserves to be addressed under this hadith. Can a man go to any of his wives if he has 2 wives or 3 wives or 4 wives? Can a man go to a wife on a day that is not her day? Can he, for example, go to a wife on a day that is not her day? The companions and Āishah reported that the Prophet used to do so, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, especially from after Salatul Asri. From after Salatul Asri, كان إذا صلى العصر أجاز على نسائه فيدنو منهن. When the Prophet observed, if he finishes his ansarafa min al-asri, أجاز على نسائه فيدنو منهن. The Prophet would go to stay with his wife, and يدنو منهن, he will come close to them. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in another report in the Musnad of Al-Imām Ahmad, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was reported that مَا مِنْ يَوْمٍ إِلَّا وَهُوَ يَطُوفُ عَلَيْنَا جَمِيعًا إِمْرَأَةً. There was no day except that the Prophet would يَطُوفُ, he will go around all of us. يَطُوفُ عَلَيْنَا جَمِيعًا. So the Prophet will go around his wives. إِمْرَأَةً, wife after wife. فَيَدْنُو وَيَلْمُسُ, he will come near us. وَيَلْمَسُ, he will come near us. يَدْنُو وَيَلْمَسُ, he will come near each of us. وَيَلْمَسُ, he will touch us. مِنْ غَيْرِ مَسِيسٍ, without having sexual intercourse with us. حَتَّى يُفْدِي إِلَّا الَّتِي هُوَ يَوْمِهَا, until he ends up إِلَّا الَّتِي هُوَ يَوْمِهَا, فَيَبِيتَ إِنْدَهَا, until he ends up in the woman who has the night. فَيَبِيتَ إِنْدَهَا, and then the Prophet will still put her, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, pass the night in that room. So from after Salatul Asri, يَطُوفُ عَلَيْنَا, go from one time, imra'atan, one room, the next one, next room. Don't forget, when the Prophet passed away, he had 9 wives, alayhi salatu wasalam. So he will go from after Salatul Asr, from one room. He will touch us, he will come near us, but he won't have sexual intercourse with us. He will only do that in the night where he was going to stay, alayhi salatu wasalam. Even though having intercourse was also permissible. If a man has intercourse, it's permissible. We read the hadith of Anas ibn Malik when he said that sometimes the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam on a single night he will go around all his wives. So it can happen. This is the point. If that happens, there's no blame. But don't forget, the one who has the night should not be deprived of masses. The one who has the night should not be deprived of masses. She should get masses. She should get good intercourse. And she should not be deprived because the husband went round the rest of the wives. So the Prophet used to go around. Some women in our own times, once they hear that it is their night, and then the women, the one husband entered one room, they start shouting, no, don't enter any other, it's my room, no. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he will go around the rooms. In fact, the report of Āishah said, radiyallahu anha, she said, قَلَّ يَوْمٌ إِلَّا وَهُوَ يَطُوفُ عَلَيْنَا جَمِيعًا قَلَّ يَوْمٌ إِلَّا وَهُوَ يَطُوفُ عَلَيْنَا جَمِيعًا. It was on rare occasion that he will not do it. Otherwise, he will go round everybody. So the husband who has more than one wife, you should go around, see your wives, see all of them. From seeing them, you can touch them, you can romance them, you can fondle them, you can cuddle them, but don't have intercourse with them. If having that intercourse will affect intercourse with the woman who has the night, don't have intercourse with them if that will affect the woman who has the night. But if that will not affect, you are free. There's also the hadith of Anas that the Prophet will have intercourse with his wives on a single night. So there's no blame if there's intercourse, as long as it does not become the reason to avoid the woman who has the night. I hope that this point is clear. But that hadith here we have read in page 174 that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam atani fi ghayri yawmi yatlubu minni daj'a. The Prophet came on a day that was not my own, asking for sleeping on my bed. Fadaqqa. The Prophet knocked the door. Fasamitu daqqa. I heard the knocking. Summa kharajtu. I went out. Fafatahtu lahu, and opened the door to him. فَقَالَ مَا كُنْتُ تَسْمَعِينَ الدَّقَّ. Did you not hear the knocking? And then I said, I heard the knocking. وَلَكِنَّنِي أَحْبَبْتُ أَنْ يَعْلَمَ النِّسَاءُ أَنَّكَ أَتَيْتَنِي فِي غَيْرِ يَوْمٍ. This is not an authentic narration. I hope that the lesson about that is clear. Another thing that Imām Adh-Dhahabi rahimahullah mentioned to show how much the Prophet loved Āishah and showed her compassion was this report. He said, Hisham ibn Urwa an abihi an Āishah radiyallahu anha qalat سابقني النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم فسبقته ما شاء حتى إذا رحقني اللحم سابقني فسبقني وقال يا عائشة هذه بتلك. هشام ibn Urwa radiyallahu rahimahullah, the son of a Tabi'i, Urwa ibn Zubayr, He said, and Abihi from Urwa, Āishah radiallahu anha reporting from Āishah, قالت, who said, سابقني النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فسبقته ما شاء. The Prophet did a race with me. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He did a race with me. فسبقته ما شاء. And I went before him. I beat him in the race. I think it is necessary to also clarify this report, because people commonly quote this report and then they go to a stadium in the midst of people and begin to run husband and wife. They say that the Prophet was running with Āishah. It is good to understand the circumstance. Āishah said, radiyallahu anha, that this one happened fi ba'di asfarihi, on one of the journeys, وَكَانَتْ مَعَهُ, on one of the journeys that she embarked on with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. فقال الرسول صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم للناس تقدموا. The Prophet was with the people, and there was Āishah there too. But the Prophet said to the people, تقدموا, go in front, move, 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 move. So what the Prophet did with Āishah, radiyallahu anha, he said the people should move away. فَتَقَدَّمَ النَّاسِ. So the people moved. They went away. They moved far away. It was when the people moved far away that the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ta'alay hatta usabiquki. Ta'alay hatta usabiqaki. Come, Āishah, hatta usabiqaki. Come, let me race with you. So the Prophet did not race with Āishah in front of the people. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sisters who want to carry their husbands to the gym under the excuses that the Prophet used to race with Āishah. Or men who want to carry their wives to the gym on the pretense that the Prophet was racing with Āishah. Be sure that nobody is seeing you and your wife in that gym. Āishah, when the Prophet raced with her, the Prophet asked the people to leave, go away. So he did not do it in the presence of people. So she said, radiyallahu anha, that happened and she defeated the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She surpassed him in that race. She said in another report, فَلَمَّا حَمَلْتُ اللَّحْمَ, when I took flesh, وَبَدُنْتُ, and then I had more body, وَنَسِيتُ, I had even forgotten that I had surpassed the Prophet in a race. خَرَجْتُ مَعَهُ فِي بَعْضِ أَسْفَارِهِ, I went out with him again on another journey. فَقَالَ لِلنَّاسِ تَقَدَّمُوا, the Prophet said again, people, go away, go to the front. تَعَالَيْ حَتَّى أُسَابِقَكِ, come Āishah, let me race you again. So on both occasions, on the first occasion, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told the people to move away. It was not in front of the people. The second occasion too, the Prophet told the people to move away. It was not in front of the people. And then they both raced. When they raced, فَسَبَقَنِي, the Prophet now surpassed her. فَقَالْ فَجَعَلَ يَضْحَكُ, Āishah said, فَسَبَقَنِي فَجَعَلَ يَضْحَكُ, the Prophet defeated me in the race and he began to laugh. قَالَ يَا عَائِشَةُ هَذِهِ بِتِلْكِ, O Āishah, let this be for that one. This my surpassing you, let it be the replacement for your surpassing me. The Prophet did that, alayhi salatu wasalam, to show love and compassion with his wife. So a man can go out to the open desert with your wife if you live in a desert area. You can go out, you can stroll with your wife, you can travel with your wife so that you have the opportunity to play together during that journey. That is lawful, inshallah, but keep your wife private. as the Prophet ﷺ kept his wife private. He did not do that before the rank and file of the companions. Radiyallahu anha. So Hisham ibn Urwa and Abihi and Āishah radiyallahu anha قالت سابقني النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فسبقته ما شاء حتى إذا رحقني اللحم سابقني فسبقني وقال يا عائشة هذه بتلك. I hope that this narration is clear. In the next page, page 175, Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, ورواه أبو إسحاق الفزاري. Abu Ishaq al-Fazari also reported this narration from Hisham ibn Urwa. Abu Ishaq al-Fazari, he is Ibrāhīm ibn Muhammad. He also reported it from Hisham فقال, who said عن أبيه وعن أبي سلمة عنها, who said Urwa ibn Zubayr said that Hisham ibn Urwa said that he reported it from his father Urwa ibn Zubayr and from Abu Salama, the son of Abdurrahman ibn Auf. So both Urwa and Abu Salama reported this narration from Āishah. That's what? On different journeys. The first one was in a journey. The second one was on a journey. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told the people, Taqaddamu, all of you, go to the front, go, go, go. فَسَابَقَهَا. The Prophet did a race with Āishah behind the people, not before them. And then سَابَقَتْهُ. Āishah surpassed him during another journey when Āishah had forgotten. Take this again. It means it is not an everyday job. Some men every day they want to carry their wife to gym every weekend. It was not an everyday thing the Prophet did. Alayhi salatu wasalam. If a person needs exercise every day, such as many of the people who have some diabetic conditions, they give them or the conditions of high blood pressure or things like this. They usually say that people should do exercises as the doctor would say. If you take your wife for an exercise like this, be sure that there's a place, some level of privacy and the like of this. Sometimes it may be regular, but don't forget that it is something that is guided by the rules of privacy in Islam. You see some women, Muslim women, will be wearing skin tights. They say Muslimat alone, this, that. They wear tights amongst themselves. No. It is not lawful that a Muslim woman wears a tight that shows her contours. As it is not lawful before a man, it is not also lawful before her fellow women. Wear your hijab, wear your jilbab in every circumstance. Allahu A'lam. So we should not forget, exercise and all of these are guided by the rules of privacy. Even in that hadith where the Prophet raised with Āishah, radiyallahu anha, alayhi salatu wasalam, he told the people to move away, both on the first occasion and on the second occasion. I think we can quickly take one more report that showed the Prophet's love for Āishah, radiyallahu anha. And that was what Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi reported mentioned from Abu Sa'd al-Baqal. Abu Sa'd al-Baqal, I think I should quickly say it. Abu Sa'd al-Baqal is Sa'id ibn Marzuban. That occurs in page 175. Abu Sa'd al-Baqal, he is Sa'id ibn Marzuban al-Abasi. He is a weak reporter of hadith. So this isnad we are reading is weak, even though everything in that isnad has been reported from other authentic chains. So the message is sahih, but the isnad is da'if. I hope that this is clear. So Abu Sa'd al-Baqal says, An Abdurrahman ibn al-Aswad, and Abihi, Abuhu is al-Aswad, ibn Yazid, who said, قالت Āishah radiyallahu anha, that Āishah said, radiyallahu anha, تزوجني رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم حين أتاه جبريل بالصورة. The Prophet married me sallallahu alayhi wa sallam when Jibreel alayhi salam came to me with my image. We recall that the Prophet had dreams where the image of Āishah was brought to him, covered, and then later it was exposed and he saw that it was Āishah he was seeing in his dream. So we know that this one had occurred in authentic ahadith. وَإِنِّي لَجَارِيَةٌ عَلَيَّ حَوْفٌ. When I married the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I was a little young girl, Jariya. Arabs don't say Jariya regarding an old person. When they say Jariya, they mean a little young girl. So Āishah was Jariya when she married the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. We see this repeatedly in her narrations. Each time she talks about her marriage with the Prophet, she was saying what she was what? Jariya. I was a little young girl. Alayya hawfun. At the time when I married the Prophet, there was no ruling on hijab. So I had a hawf, a piece of cloth they used to tie to the waist like a belt. فَلَمَّا تَزَوَّجَنِي. After he married me, أَلْقَى alayya haya'an. Allah placed a lot of shyness in me. I was very shy. Radiyallahu anha. This is the first thing many women lose today on the day of marriage. You see young Muslim women, they will throw away their jilbab. They will throw away their niqab on the day of marriage. They say they want to marry. As for Āishah, when she got married, Alqallahu alayha haya'a. Allah placed shyness on her. We remember that also occurs in that hadith of Asma bint Yazid. When the Prophet drank from a bowl of milk and gave to her, she said, I was shy. I couldn't collect it from the Prophet. Shyness is a regular thing for a Muslim woman. Shyness, bashfulness, humility, not being gara, as most of the women have become. Sorry that I have used that expression, but I know that we understand what I mean. Many women have thrown away shyness today, maybe because they are engaged in business, maybe because they are engaged. When they talk to men, they forget that they are women. We also remember that when Hassan ibn Thabit praised Āishah, she praised her with what? Shyness. Hassanun razanun la tuzannu biribatik. As was in that poem by Hassan ibn Thabit. She said, radiyallahu anha, فَلَمَّا تَزَوَّجَنِي أَلْقَى اللَّهُ عَلَيَّ حَيَاءً. When the Prophet married me, Allah clothed me, Allah placed upon me haya wa ana saghiratun. And at that time, I was a little young girl. Radiyallahu anha. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had seen Āishah in his dream before he married, and she was a very, very shy young girl. The next report is the report where Āishah said, radiyallahu anha, that the Prophet would eat some piece of meat that has bones. When he licked the bone and the fish and the meat, then he gave it to Āishah. Āishah will now be searching for the place. And then she will do that too. And then he will do the same thing to her. Look at this love between the Prophet and Āishah. And out of compassion and respect for her. Some men don't have any iota of respect for their wives. Some men don't have any iota of respect. Yes, some women disrespect themselves before their husbands. When you abuse your husband, you are disrespecting yourself before him. When you are a dirty person without good hygiene, you are disrespecting yourself before your husband. When you abuse your husband, you are disrespecting yourself before your husband. So some women do things like this, yes. But still, men, we should find a way to maintain some level of compassion and esteem for our wives, because that is from the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad And by the same stroke, we encourage women to show genuine compassion and esteem for their husbands. And cases where their esteem for genuine love man can Allah. If you want to meet Allah with full rewards of goodness on the day of Qiyamah. Be like the Prophet Muhammad to or fasted or meet his wives. Now,
Assalamu alaikum, ya Shaykh.
alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Abu Abdur-Rahman. Do we have a few questions we can take today?
Naam, ya Shaykh.
Now, Bismillah.
The first question says, is it permissible for spouse to address each other with pet names, both publicly and privately? Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
They call themselves. Right. Can you hear me?
Naam, I can hear you, sir.
Can you hear me?
Naam, ya
Abu
Shaykh.
Abdur-Rahman. It is allowed
Naam.
in Allah to call themselves by pet names. It is allowed to call themselves by pet names, especially in the private. We read in this book that there are about 2 or 3 ahadith that are authentic from the Sunan of Al-Imām An-Nasā'i, where the Prophet ﷺ would refer to Āishah as Humayrā, a young girl with a nice, bright complexion. Humayrā, a young girl with a nice and bright complexion. He used to say that to her. That's a pet name. He would also sometimes refer to her as Āishah. Ya Āishah. That's also a pet name between the two of them. But if it is done privately, it is better. Because most of the ahadith, you will hear him say, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Ya Āishah to Ya Āishah to Ya Āishah. As we have even read today. You will hear him call her Āishah, Āishah, Āishah. So it means Allah knows best. In private, yes, call her pet names. You can call her, I remember a woman who called her husband Ayotoluwa for me. So many names. My lover, my sweetheart, my robe of the heart. Let that be private between yourself and not before your children. Otherwise, your children too will refer to you by that name, and it will not be lawful. Imagine your son calling you my lover in front of your dad, in front of your husband. Men are very strong in the place of a son. Keep the husband in the place of a husband. That is the meaning of wisdom. opposite of that is the meaning of zulm. So make it private, lawful, inshallah, as we have given examples. Make it private, that's lawful. And let it be that outside that name of the not adopted, inshallah. I hope that this is clear about the Rahman.
Salawatullah alaikum ya Shaykhana, it's clear.
Now,
another question says, if a woman marries more than a husband because of death of first or second husband, who will she be with on the day of judgment at Al-Jannah?
she will be with the last husband. A woman who marries another man, whether due to divorce or due to the death, being widow, she will be with the last husband that she has, inshallah. Don't feel that, will I now love him? The case in Al-Jannah, part of the beauty of Al-Jannah is that Allah will make everything suitable for you beyond you think. It will be very suitable for you. It will be very enjoyable for you. You will even forget that you have had one before. You will have nice, enjoyable time with your husband, inshallah. You marry last and you come into Al-Jannah with him. It will be in a life of bliss. As for the first husband too, Allah will marry wives to him too. From the people of the dunya, perhaps from those who were not allowed, who did not have the opportunity to marry. He has his own wife. He has his own enjoyment too. So don't think that how will it be? I'll be missing him. Nobody will miss anybody, except as parents will miss their children. People will miss their relatives. They want to see them, but they'll see them upon goodness, and it will be goodness for everybody. So wives will because when a woman marries another, the wife of the first man, note this. When your husband dies, you have stopped to be his wife after the period of the iddah. He's no more your wife. So I think that cuts off. Once now you get another husband, you are now assigned to another man. May Allah protect all of us.
Jazakumullah khairan ya Shaykh. Another one says, based on this hadith, can we play games with our wife, either on phone or other games?
Yes, you can play with your wives. You can play as long as that play is lawful play. As long as that play does not become something upon which you waste your time. You see, the Prophet was not doing that every day with Āishah. In fact, she said by the second one, she even forgot that they had had that kind of a play before. So don't become a family that every day it is play, play, play. Why? The Prophet used to play with Āishah. It was not something they did every day. So don't do it every day. But sometimes, yes, you can play on the phone. Talk to your wife in a nice way. Oh, my wife, I miss you. How have you been? Did you take care of yourself for me today? How are you looking? Oh, I wish I had been at home today. I would have loved to stay. Yes, you can. You can psych up yourselves. Of course, those two are part of the enjoyment between a man and his wife. There's no blame about that. Sure. About the Rahman.
Salawatullah alaikum ya Shaykh.
I mean, can we stop here today? Bismillah, we'll meet in class tomorrow morning.
Jazakumullah khairan.
آمين وأنتم جزاكم الله خيرا سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.